Hello and welcome to another Fikava Vet Chat. Tonight I'm speaking to a veterinarian from Iceland who decided that Iceland is nice, but Italy is better. So welcome and hello to Sif Traustadottir.
Yes, thank you. So nice to be here and having this chat.
So that looks already fantastic. So that's the view from your balcony, yeah?
Yeah, this is my garden. My background. I live in a small village in Italy, just outside Rome, and I have a little house with a really. It's quite small, the garden, but it's super nice. So I have this wonderful view of the valley from my garden.
So tell me, Sif, as a veterinary, an Icelandic veterinary surgeon, I mean, Icelanders are not many people, there are not a lot of Icelanders around, actually. I think you are 250, 300,000, something like that.
Yeah, I think we reached 350,000 now.
Okay. So first of all, as far as I know, there's no vet school in Iceland. So how tell me your story. So how did you become a vet? Where did you start?
Yeah. So I always wanted to be a vet ever since I was a child. Like my childhood friends remember, like, oh, Sif is the one who always talked about being a vet. But yeah, you're right. We don't have a vet school in Iceland. So I studied biology first. And kind of like flirted with different ideas, like, oh, we have like a medical school, but then I thought, no, I think I like the animals more. So I decided to go for it. And I went to Denmark to study. I also, as part of like my last year in vet school, I did an exchange program with UC Davis in California. It was really, really nice, very good experience to go there and see how they do things a little bit differently and very advanced things that they were doing as well.
So after university, did you practice for a while in Iceland?
Yeah, I practiced in Iceland. I graduated. I was really fortunate to get a job in a small animal practice. That was my intention right away after I graduated. So I started working in a small clinic in the center of Reykjavik. And then after a few years, I grouped together with two other ladies, and we started a clinic and built a house. So we built a hospital.
Somewhere I read or heard that, I'm not sure if that is still true, that no dog was allowed in Reykjavik because of echinococcosis.
It's like our dark past.
Yeah. So there was a period where there were no dogs allowed in the European capital. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a period in the 80s, I think, like the 70s and the 80s. I'm not sure exactly how long it lasted, but it was like after people started moving to the city from the countryside, because Iceland was a rural country before, and it was a little bit primitive, I guess. And so people would just bring their dogs, like farm dogs, to the city, and they would be like running all over, and then there were some infections. What's it called? I forget sometimes forget the English words for.
I heard that it was because of echinococcosis.
Yes, exactly, echinococcosis. Yeah. So there was like a panic, and they decided to ban dogs in the city, and it lasted until the late 80s, until like people just rebelled against these rules. And one of the most instrumental men with helping us to get rid of this stupid regulations was a minister in the he was a minister in the government,
Mm.
And he just openly had a dog, an Icelandic sheepdog, and he just told everyone that this dog is part of my family and I will never give her up. So you can send the police to my house and they will have to arrest me because I'm not going, my dog is not going anywhere.
Mm.
So, and his party was also in charge of the city, like the mayor was in the same party as this minister. And they eventually caved in from the pressure because people were sympathetic. And we had some really not so nice incidents where police went to people's houses to confiscate the dogs, and
Yeah.
and that really was something that I think that was like, after that people were like, no, we can't do this, it's not
We
humane.
had here in the UK, one of the driving sort of forces or people to change the quarantine rules, which we initially had. And initially, we had 6 months quarantine for dogs to come into the UK. Was the former governor of Hong Kong, Chris Patten. He had a couple of terriers, as far as I remember, and he was also a very influential figure in the British Tory party, and he said, well, it's that's crazy, and my dogs, they are not carrying any disease, and I'm very happy to blood test or so, but jailing them for 6 months is not fair. This was not the main reason why it was changed, but it was in any case a very strong advocate to stop something like this. Nevertheless,
yes, I think also the EU was instrumental in the UK to change these rules.
Yeah.
Because they said, oh, we have to have the same rules in all the EU countries. And you have to, like, if you don't want to follow the rules, you have to give like scientific arguments for keeping it this way. And they just couldn't do that.
But today we don't want to talk about the pet travel scheme. We want to talk about Iceland and Italy. So, okay, working for a while in Iceland, and how did it come about with Italy? Tell me that story.
Yeah, so I had always had a thing, I guess, for Italy. Like Italy was always like this dream place. And I never went there when I was a kid. Like, I think it was probably because of the food. I was like a real lover of like pasta and all Italian foods. And I also went to the UK to study English when I was 15. And my mother said, like, when I came back from that trip, because there were so many Italian students on the trip, she was like, no, you were like a lot worse with the Italian thing after you came back from that trip. But then I never, like, I went to vet school, I got married, I had a child, and we never went to Italy. But then actually, after I got divorced, I decided, okay, now I'm going to let my dream is going to come true. So I went to Italy for the first time in 2008. And I just, it was everything that I had imagined. So I decided to, I went back almost every year after that on my summer holidays. I was always a little bit sad at the airport when I had to go back, even if I'd stayed for like 5 weeks or 6 weeks. One time I stayed for 6 weeks, and I never wanted to leave. And it's like part the food. I really like the food. Like, it was, of course, even better than the Italian food that I had eaten in Iceland when I was a kid. And then the climate as well. Like, I don't really do well. People make fun of me here because I really don't like being cold. Everyone's like, no, but you're from Iceland. And I'm like, yes, that's why I don't live there. It's just too cold for me.
I mean, I have also here in England, we have a lot of Scandinavian people I speak to people from Sweden and Norway. They say, oh, England is so cold. It's so cold. The houses are so poorly isolated. And at home in Scandinavia, I mean, people wrap up warm. They have often more lower humidity. I mean, especially in Sweden, this is a more continental country. and
Yeah,
it's also sort of they are prepared for the cold, but then
yeah,
if it gets
exactly.
cold in England, often there's still a lot of houses that have only single glazing. It
Yeah.
gets it's unpleasant. It's
Yeah, 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 yeah. It gets really cold. Yeah, that's the thing also. Like for me as well, like I find the Italian houses are really cold in the winter.
mm.
In Iceland, we are used to having like 20 degrees. Like in your house, it's always like pleasant.
Then triple
To have.
glazing and things
Yeah,
like.
yeah. We have like the houses are really well insulated, and we have triple glazing and everything, and also an abundance of warm water.
Mm. Yeah.
So it's not so expensive to keep the houses warm.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So you're traveling now once or twice a year for a few weeks to Italy from Iceland, but what made you then do the real move, or how did the real move came about?
Yeah, so it was there were some things that happened. I guess like I was the work was really stressful in the hospital. Like I think a lot of our viewers are gonna relate to that.
Mm,
Like it's really stressful, and I think I was on the brink of. We just opened the clinic like a few months before the 2008 financial crash.
mm.
So it was a really stressful time.
Yeah.
Like we had like all these loans because we built the house from scratch.
Mm,
So we had borrowed some money to build the house, and so it was really a very stressful time after the crash. And working like really long hours and being on call really a lot.
mm, mm,
And sometimes you were like on call, like we started in the beginning when there was only three of us, like three vets. We had like we did 1 week each,
mm,
like week 1 week and then 1 week and 1 week for the after hours on call duty.
mm.
And sometimes, and we had a big hospital, so sometimes you would be like doing like emergency cesarean in the middle of the night,
Yeah.
and then you have to start working at 8 o'clock the next
Yeah,
morning. Like it's
not good.
yeah.
Mm, mm,
So it was really, but I mean it got better as we like as time went by,
mm,
and
mm,
we hired more people and stuff, but it was
mm.
I was still feeling the effects of the stress. And then I was involved in a car accident
Mhm.
where it was like like a near death experience, let's say. It was like when it happened, I really thought that I was going to die. I like we were uh, crossing the country in the middle of the winter, going on a ski trip, and there was like black ice on the road. And the car I was in, I was a passenger in the passenger seat behind the driver, and the car went over onto the other side of the road, and there was a huge container truck coming right at us, like with the lights, and he started like honking the horn. It's like in a movie or something.
Yeah.
And so I could hear like the horns and the like looking right into the lights, and I thought like, oh my god, this is my last day on earth. Like we
Mm,
are never going to survive, because we were in like a small SUV, like really tiny, and this was a huge truck.
mm,
And
mm,
then like all of a sudden, like seconds, we went over to the other side of the road, and the car flipped over off the road, and we landed like in a patch of snow instead of there was like rocks everywhere, and we were just so lucky to survive without any major damage.
mm, yeah, nevertheless. Mm,
Yeah, but it really had a big effect on me. And then 3 months after that, my mother had to have coronary bypass surgery.
mm,
And in the space of 2 months, my mother and her sister and her brother all had like quadruple bypass surgery.
mm,
And then I realized that all my mother and all her siblings
mm,
have coronary heart disease.
mm.
So I was like, okay, so I survived the car
Easy to
crash,
communicate.
and then this.
Mm.
And I've had hypertension also. I was diagnosed in my 20s with
Mm.
hypertension. So I thought, maybe I didn't win the genetic lottery.
No.
So like, and it all these things that all happened in the space of like a few months, and I thought this is like it was like a wake up call. Like, what are you going to do with your life? Like, are you just gonna keep doing this that you're doing and just like put all the dreams on hold until you retire? And then I thought, well, maybe I'm not one of those people who's going to retire. You never know what's going to happen. So I decided to just
So you
go ahead
packed your
and
stuff, and you did you know right away where you wanted to go in Italy, or?
no, and I wasn't even like, Italy was like the dream country, but then I thought like, well, I also knew, because I'd been going there for many years, that Italy has its problems. Like, it's not all sunshine and roses. So I knew that it would be almost impossible to find a job there as a vet, because there's such a surplus of vets. And also I still didn't speak Italian really. Like, I just I'd taken some classes, and I could like put together like a simple sentence and like order in a restaurant or something, but I wasn't fluent enough to do any clinical work. So it would have been really difficult to find a job. So that was, and I thought, as a vet, like I could go to the UK or Netherlands or something, and I could work as a vet and get a nice job. So I thought, maybe I should try that. But I decided, okay, I'm gonna take 6 months off, and I thought also, like, I don't know, I still have family and friends in Iceland. Maybe if I just go away for like a few months and just relax and do like a little sabbatical, then I'll feel differently when I come back. So I decided to get a camper van. So I got a camper van in Germany, and I decided, okay, I'm gonna drive around Europe for 6 months and visit some other countries. And I actually visited a lot of colleagues all over Europe.
Yeah.
And that was really, really great experience, because I was visiting all the colleagues. So I got like the inside scoop on what it's like to be a vet in this country. So I was asking everywhere I went, like, what's it like to live here? Like, what's it like to live in the UK, in Scotland, or in Spain, or anywhere? And I drove around also, and I was just by myself with my dog. And that was one of the criteria also. I was thinking, like, in my head, like, what's it like to be a dog owner here in this country? So it was really really nice experience. And but it was really interesting when I was driving around. I found that everyone complained about the same things everywhere. Like, when I asked about like what's the positives and the negatives were always the same. We pay too much taxes, and our politicians are corrupt.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, like, and it's so funny, because like, if you talk about corruption in politics, like, and you compare like Denmark and Iceland, or like Denmark and Italy, like, there's no comparison. Like, it's like a whole other level here in Italy. But everything is relative. Like, when you have really high standards, like, people can, I think, almost never live up to the standard. So just if the standard is raised, people are still not happy, because nobody's perfect. So I thought, well, it's, if you're going to have to pay too much taxes and have corrupt politicians, it's better to do it if you have good food and good wine and nice climate.
At least that, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I mean, I have to say, I sympathize, or I completely agree with you. Also, for me, I always think Italy is a gold standard when it comes to quality of life. sort of,
Yeah, exactly.
my favorite skiing area is Alto Adige. I love to go to the Toscana, to Tuscany. Sitting outside on a piazza in the evening, sort of with all the food and the street life around you. There are hardly any other place in the world which is just that great as Italy is. So I can fully sympathize, but that is, if I look at it as a tourist, living
It's
in
not the
Italy is
same.
a different matter.
Exactly. Yeah. And I knew that also. And that's why I didn't just drive right away to Italy. Because I knew I had been to Italy so many times and I had made some Italian friends. And I had like, I understood that it's not the same to be there as a tourist or to live here. So I was a little bit hesitant in the beginning, but then in the end, I decided, okay, I want to try Italy and just see what it's like.
So, and then rather than working somewhere as a veterinarian in Italy, you decided you have your own, what shall I say, you decided on your own way to work as a veterinarian living abroad. And so this is also very sort of special, which I found is amazing, because you are a behaviorist, or you provide behaviorist services, but completely online now, and that all over the world, as far as I understand.
So I had already started doing, like, I studied also behavior in I went to the UK and I studied at University of Southampton. They had a really good behavior program there. I completed, and then I had started a little bit in the clinic, and I was thinking sometimes, like, sometimes I would go to people's houses or they would come to the clinic, but like when you bring the dog to the clinic for behavior consultation, like I wasn't really doing anything, or not so much, with the dogs. Like the dog is just lying there and I'm talking to the owner the whole time. And I started thinking, like, you can easily do this online. Like you can just talk to people online instead of in person. It doesn't make a huge difference.
Possibly actually better, because the dog is then, or the cat is then, in its natural environment at home.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's not under this sort of, in the stress of having been driven to the vet surgery and also being in the veterinary surgery.
Yeah. I mean, even when I went to people's houses, then I could see how the pet was behaving in the circumstances. That's my deaf dog barking at the other one, trying to get him to play. So there's the stress of bringing them to the clinic, but also, like, I was going to people's houses and I would see them at home, but then we would just sit at the table and talk, because that's the main thing of what I do. Like I'm training the owners. That's my job. So what I do now, people send me a video and pictures of the behavior of the animals, and usually it's enough, just a few minutes. I instruct them to record videos no more than 2 minutes usually, and that's enough to see, and then they describe the problem, and that's enough to understand. And then I do like an interview with them to understand, like, to make a diagnosis. And then the treatment, a lot of the stuff that I go through with the owners it's like the basics are more or less always the same. Like for example, if a dog has anxiety, you have to explain, like, sometimes a little bit about how the brain works, the automatic nervous system, and things like that. So I have also some like pre-recorded videos that people can watch. And then when we do the interview, they can record. Like we do the interview on Zoom, and they can record it, and then they can go back. Because I realized also when I was doing follow-up with the people that a lot of times they forgot some of the things that I had told them, because the interview is so long that they forget like details. And I would write like a really long like 5 or 6 page instructions for them,
Mm.
and people just got overwhelmed because it was too much information at once, and they
Mm.
forgot the details of what I was telling them, and they weren't sure how to implement.
Mm.
So and now I feel like I'm getting better results because people, like, I keep the interview no more than 1 hour, because
Mm.
I find that people just can't, it's just too difficult to go on for more than
Mm.
that.
Mm.
And I prefer to do like minimum of 3 sessions.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
then I give them also, like, they can watch the recording again, so they can like remind themselves of what I said. I just give them like a short instructions with really, and then I follow up and give them, like, I don't give them all the instructions like
Mm.
at once. I give them
Yeah.
pieces
Mm.
so
Mm.
that they're building on what they did before.
Yeah.
So it's I feel like it's working better than before, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And now I can work with I can live anywhere. So I decided also, like, this is really good, because in case I ever get tired of living in Italy, I
Mm.
can easily just pack up my laptop and move.
Go elsewhere. This is, I mean, you're far ahead of your time, actually. I mean, we are all now, because of COVID,
Yeah.
waking up to that, what you're doing. I
Mm-hmm.
just earlier today sort of received a questionnaire from vet professionals, Sarah Caney, one of our foremost feline specialists here in the
Mm-hmm.
UK, and they are making a survey in how far what's the advantages, what's the disadvantages of video consults. And I
Mm-hmm.
mean, there are certain disadvantages. I mean, I can't palpate during a
Yeah,
video
exactly.
consultation.
Mm-hmm.
I can't, auscultation is, for example, somewhat difficult. The
Mm-hmm.
examination of the oral cavity is somewhat difficult, I find.
Mm-hmm.
But nevertheless, I mean, yes, it probably has its place, and it is here to stay. And I think, I mean, in that respect, you are one of the people who were leading the way with that idea. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. Yeah.
How has COVID affected your personal business? Are you busier or less busy?
I would say I'm busier than it's like, yeah, people are now, like, everyone is has been forced to learn about internet and learn how to use video conferencing and stuff like that. So now I find, like, when I do and I also do sometimes, I do, like, on my I do offer sometimes, like, free events, like lectures and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
for people to find me and discover that it's actually possible to do this online. And also, when I have clients, usually now I don't have to explain so much. Like, I remember, like, I started 5 years ago, and then I would have to send everyone, like, before the consultation, I would have to send them, like, an instructional video on, like, how to open Zoom, like how to click on the link and how to do all that. But now that I just send them the link and everyone knows what to do. Like, they have a camera and they have a microphone and they are all ready to go. And
You said you were traveling with your dog through Europe.
yeah.
I did the same thing earlier this year. I was working for a couple of months in Sweden. Then our dog sort of is originally from the UK, and then we went through Germany and down to Italy, to Apulia.
Mm-hmm.
And admittedly, I have to say, the further south we went, the more difficult it became with the dog. I don't know if you observed it, the same thing, but I mean, I can remember sort of one morning walk we did with the dog, and the dog was sort of assaulted during one walk 3 times by dogs in Italy. I found it
Yeah.
for dogs further south. I don't know, they don't seem so well socialized with other dogs. They are more territorial. we found it really stressful.
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas, I mean, I go running with my dog in the UK. The dog is off the lead. The dog is
Hmm.
absolutely, I mean, she has a very good recall,
Hmm.
but then she virtually never gets into trouble with other dogs. Whereas
Hmm.
down in Italy, really had to watch out. It was really stressful, and also a lot of dogs, not friendly dogs, sort of
Hmm.
without any control, without
Hmm.
anybody around,
Yeah,
and it was
yeah,
scary
yeah.
stuff at
Yeah,
times.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You-
Yeah, absolutely. There is definitely a different kind of culture here with the dogs, especially in rural areas.
Mm,
It's very common here that people just let their dogs roam around. Like half the stray dogs that you see in Italy, they aren't stray at all. They're just roaming around, but they have a home that they go to. Like people just open the door in the morning, and then in the
yeah.
evening the dogs go back home. Like, but they're just running around wild.
Mm.
Yeah, so
What-
yeah, absolutely. But I find also Italy to be very well. I haven't been so much to the south of Italy, like further south, and I haven't been much further south than Rome. Like only for like well, I did take my dogs on holiday in Amalfi. I have
Mm,
two dogs now, and we went on holiday in Amalfi
mm,
for a week, and that was really nice. Like stayed, I rented a house, a little house on Airbnb that had like a garden. The owner was very accommodating,
mm,
and they helped us. They were like, "Oh, you can leave the. Oh, I'm going to like fix this hole in the fence on the in the garden so that the dogs are not going to run away." And like they were really
mm.
nice, and it's so easy to take them with you everywhere here. Like we could
Yeah,
go for, like you can take them on the boat, and you can take them in restaurants and go everywhere. So
yeah,
like
yeah.
I've
No,
even like
that was good.
one time I took my dog to the movies.
Mm. All right, okay. Your deaf
So
dog.
now my older dog, she's Havanese, so she's very small.
Mm,
She's even small for a Havanese, so she's less than 4 kilos. She's like 3.5 kilos.
mm,
So I used to like take her with me everywhere. She's really small and very quiet. Like she's very well trained, or she's well behaved. Let's say she's not like trained like a circus dog, but she's well behaved.
mm,
So it's not difficult at all to take her anywhere. She just lies down and is very calm and quiet. So one time I was going to with a friend of mine, and she said, "Why don't you just bring the dog?" We were going to the movies, and it's like it was in a small, like in a town in Umbria,
mm,
and they have this like expat movies every Friday. They have movies in original language, which is not
mm,
very common here in Italy because they dub everything.
mm,
But they have like movies in English on Friday nights. So we went, and she said like, "Why don't we just take the dog? Like we can just ask." So we went inside and we asked like, "Can we take this dog inside?" And the guy in the reception, he was like, "Yeah, sure. Like if she stays quiet, it's fine. Like, but if she barks, you have to like take her outside."
yeah.
But then
Mhm.
we just went inside, and the dog sat down. And then it was like there was like a balcony, and with a like a fence or like what's it called?
Mhm.
A fence,
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
a,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
in front of the seats on the balcony.
Yeah.
And so I was sitting there with a dog. First she was on the floor, and then she sat on my lap. And then during the break, there was a break.
Mhm.
An older gentleman came up to me and said, "I'm a little bit worried about your dog because I don't think she can see the movie from where she's sitting."
Okay. Oh, that's very
That was really
caring.
sweet. And I was like, "Ah, yes. Oh, thank you." Well, I'm not sure that she's even like, I don't think she's watching the
Well,
movie. She
yeah.
just
Yeah.
came to sit on my lap.
Ah, that's so good. Steve, thank you so much for giving us a little insight in your somewhat unusual way of life. And I think a lot of our viewers might find that quite inspirational, sort of, and it just shows that it's not just the own country or not just the traditional forms of employment that we have as a veterinary surgeon to aim for, or as a potential horizon, and it's always worth sort of if you are not happy, I think, in your current position, then maybe think about just trying something different. And I mean, you are living proof that this can work out very, very well. So if any of our viewers would like to comment on this vet chat or would like to give us any suggestions for future vet chats, you can communicate with us via email on vetchat@ficava.org, and obviously also on our social media presence. Thank you very much, Siv, again for being with us. And next week I will have another interesting guest. I hope I see you then again. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.